And when we can take a step back and figure out what's for us in each season, and that might even change for the day or the week or anything else, then you get to know what lights you up and what feels good and what you should be doing. Mama! Let's reimagine mom life together. Mama Has Goals is your hub for relatable support and helpful resources that help you fuel yourself alongside motherhood. Your identity is bigger than mom, and whatever your goals are, together we're making them a reality. I'm back. I am coming up on 8 weeks postpartum, and I have not recorded since probably a week or two before my baby was born. And shout out to my podcast team, because I told them, I was like, I'll be able to record solos. I'll do it when the baby's napping or at night or whenever. I'll find time. And I've had time, but I didn't want to. And I was present, and I was spending those early days with my new daughter and cuddling her and taking in those newborn scrunches and cuddles. And it had me thinking about how sometimes we have to push through and do things that we don't want to do. But then there's other seasons and there's other times where just because you can do something doesn't actually mean you should. And I really started feeling this because I kept telling my podcast team, I was like, I can do it. I'm not worried about podcast solos. Shout out to Abby and the team, because I have not gotten them the content they need. I'm sorry, my voice is a little scratchy. I have allergies, but we're here. And it really just brought me back to thinking about how we don't always have to do something just because we can. And I remember this season where this is so prevalent, where I would look at our schedule and there were all these commitments and all these things that we needed to keep up with. We had all these things on our calendar, all these barbecues and commitments and places and things we needed to go do. And just because we could doesn't mean that we should. And it really took this almost feeling of like social burnout to recognize that just because we could be somewhere doesn't mean we need to say yes. And I really felt this with the podcast. As much as I love you guys and I love showing up, I needed to just take a break and be with my little baby for a little bit. And now she's literally napping next to me. We'll see if you hear her in a little bit. But now that I've gotten my flow and I've gotten through the time to be able to check out, and I've had all these things that I want to talk to you about, it's allowed me to come back in a way that feels so good. And when we don't overcommit ourselves and we don't just say yes to the things because we can, then it allows us to give our full energy to the things that we should. And in motherhood, I think this is so important, because how often do we say yes to the birthdays, the play dates, the activities, the things that our kids want to do, our partners, our friends, and it doesn't always leave time for us. It doesn't always leave time for the things that fulfill us, that light us up, the things that we should be doing. And maybe it's not even for you, but maybe it's getting really clear on what you should be doing as a family. Rather than saying yes to everyone else's activities and everyone else's parties, maybe it's just spending a day really connected as a family, really connecting on some activity or conversation, or maybe it really is just watching a movie together, but being really intentional with what you should be doing, not just what you can be doing. And this comes up so tricky because sometimes it's not that we don't want to do it. It's not that it doesn't feel good in the moment. And where, like I said, I really was thinking about this was showing up on the podcast in my postpartum season, because I love it. And it didn't feel bad to come and record. It didn't feel bad to show up, but it didn't mean that I should just because I could. And it didn't mean that it was the right choice just because it didn't feel bad. And so this is really difficult. But I was on one of our community calls the other day. And if you haven't joined one of our community calls, make sure you check the link below for our events so you can jump onto one of our free Zoom calls. We host them about twice a month, and it's really great. But we were on one the other day, and one of the women was like, "Is your baby even real? I can't believe you're back and you're doing all these things." And I told her, I said, I think that it really comes down to knowing what lights you up and knowing what feels good. And when you know yourself and you know what pours into you and is an energy profit, is what I like to say, is it adds energy to your life, then it doesn't feel hard, overwhelming, or stressful to show up for that thing. You're able to show up regardless of how you feel or what you have going on, because it's adding to how you show up and how you feel. And podcasting can often be one of those things, but I wanted it to be quiet and I didn't want to have to worry about her crying or anything like that, and just really be able to have her on my chest. And then on the calls, those are my girls, those are my women, that's you guys. And seeing you on the screen and seeing your faces and connecting and hearing what everyone's going through, celebrating, struggling with, and being together, that lights me up. That's where I want to be. And so finding the seasons where sometimes things feel really good, maybe things, again, don't feel bad, but it doesn't mean you have to say yes. It doesn't mean you have to show up. So figure out where this is coming up for you, especially as we're getting into summer, really in the thick of it. I think summer is such a beautiful time to really get outside, be present, and often brings joy. But what I've noticed is it can also bring what I call social burnout, because you start saying yes to all the things and all the activities and doing it. And sometimes that's amazing because we want to live full out. We want to get the most out of life right now because we don't get to go backwards. But we have to make sure we give ourselves space, that we give ourselves the ability to figure out what does feel good. Because if we go through the motions and we just go through the everyday and we're checking the boxes and we're doing what we can do, not what we should do, then that lets us not feel fully alive. We get to check those boxes and feel okay. It's a good life, but it's not a great life. And when we can take a step back and figure out what's for us in each season, and that might even change for the day or the week or anything else, then you get to know what lights you up and what feels good and what you should be doing. So take some time to really just slow down and be present with yourself. Take some time to think about what should you be doing this summer? And not should for society or somebody else, but for you. What should you be doing for you this summer, for what your goals are? And when we say goals, we don't mean just SMART goals or things that someone else measures success around. We mean what is going to fill you up. When you are establishing your goals for what you want in life, what you're dreaming of, what is it that you want and what should you be doing this summer to get what you want? What should you be doing to really unpack what's possible for you? What should you be doing to really hone in on these memories, these times, the season of whatever your kids are in? Maybe it's your first summer as an empty nester. What does that look like? Maybe it's your first summer without having to carry around a diaper bag. Maybe it's your first summer navigating a new career or a new home dynamic. What is it going to look like for this to be the summer that you remember? What's it going to look like to feel so good in this? And what are the things that you know are going to be no's when you look at your schedule and your calendar and you know that's not going to light you up? And what are the tricky ones? The ones that maybe aren't going to make you feel bad, but they're not going to make you feel super, super good either. That's where you really have to get present. Now, I'd like you to take this up a notch, though, and bring your family in on it. Because if you do have people in your house or even outside your house that you want to spend time with this summer, bring them into the conversation. You may have seen these viral summer bucket list boards that people are putting together, and they're having their kids list or they're coming up with a list of things that they want to put on their summer bucket list and putting a big poster together. You don't have to put a big poster together, you totally can, but think about what this is and bring your kids and your family and your friends into it and say, hey, I was thinking I really want to do something like XYZ. Maybe I want to get outside this summer. What's something that would be fun for you that we could do as a family outside? What would you like to do? Or I was really thinking it'd be fun to focus on the arts this summer. What's a way that we could get creative this summer? I was really thinking it'd be great to make some new meals this summer. What are some things that you want to try? Can you help me research them? Let's look about it together. When you give yourself the opportunity to allow others in, one, it's probably going to end up better because they're going to come up with really great ideas. Two, they feel invested in a part of it. It's not just sitting down the husband or the spouse or the partner and the kids and saying, I want to do this summer. This is what we're going to do. This is the schedule. Now, I know ambitious mamas, we can sometimes want to do that and be controlling, but there's a way to do it. And we all need a reminder, me included, to be able to make sure everyone's a part of it and that we give them a way to do it in their way, because our way of planning and being excited may not look like theirs. So ask questions. That's the key. Think about, what do you want to do this summer? Ask the friends, ask the family members, Ask them what their shoulds are, not their cans. Say, hey, I know you can support me in this way and you can go on a hike with me when I ask you to, but what would make you feel good too? What would make it feel like you're doing what you should for yourself also? And we can be a team and we can work together, right? So just because you can do something doesn't always mean you should. And just because you can do something doesn't mean it's not going to feel good or bad. There's finding that balance, asking questions, getting playful and curious. And don't wait to do this. Think about just one thing this week, this summer. What is one thing that you can do, but you're not going to? One thing you should do because it's going to make you feel good. And one thing that you really want to make sure that you're prioritizing going forward. I'm sending you so much love, sending you all the summer vibes. I'm so excited to be back here with you. I'm going to let my voice rest a little bit, and we'll be jumping into some really great conversations now that we're back. Sending you all the love. Tell a mom in your life that you see and love her by sharing this episode. Giving while your cup is overflowing always pays itself back tenfold when you need it most.